Hello, I'm Monica Price and welcome to Cuppa TV. On today's show we have Jaimie Grant from Recovery Near You, who also brings along Shaw and Rishie Sahota. Also joining me today is Gilly Page, a bespoke artisan jeweller who made a very special gift for blind Dave Healy. My first guests are Jaimie Grant, Dan and Rishie, and they've joined us today to talk about the importance of raising awareness of drug misuse. James, lovely to see you, Dan and Rishie. So James, let's start with you. Tell us about It's Recovery Near You, isn't it?
Yes, I work for Recovery Near You. We're a substance misuse service and we also deal in alcohol awareness as well, working with people with alcohol problems. We cover the whole of Wolverhampton. We're a service where there's 3 services within the one service. We're Birmingham and Solihull Mental Health and 2 charities, NACRO and Aquarius, and together we're known as Recovery Near You.
Right, so Recovery Near You, it's an important part then of what you do in Wolverhampton, would you say?
Definitely important because we cover the whole of the Wolverhampton city, helping people in recovery who are either addicted or even binge drinking, to bring them through recovery and out the treatment programme and back on the road.
Fantastic. And Dan, let's just bring you in. So tell us a little bit about what your role is.
I work for an organisation called SUIT. I'm a voluntary support worker there, and what we do, we started in 2007. We acted as a voice for the service users of Wolverhampton, because obviously if they've got issues, they don't know who to talk to, and we felt they needed a voice. So SUIT was created back in 2007, and we run a volunteer programme. We do activities for service users, fishing, cycling, boxing, Brazilian jiu-jitsu. We also get people back into employment. We do various training courses for people, and we also support people in all the other things that are going on in their lives. We deal a lot with Recovery Near You. We also help people with the benefits, the housing issues, the criminal justice system. Basically anything that people need support with, we're there. They come in and we'll do our best to help them.
Fantastic. And Rishie, what's your role in what this organisation does?
I'm a senior practitioner, so part of my role is a middle manager for the service, but a team I'm responsible for is the single point of contact team. So anyone with any drug misuse, alcohol issue, could be painkillers, they'll ring the service. It's a free and confidential service, so we'll do an initial assessment and then we get them to the right team. So we've got about 1,700 people in treatment at the moment, and we get roughly 8 to 10 referrals a day, so that's the size of the issue.
Really? I mean, that's quite a lot, isn't it? 8 to 10 referrals. And you said that it's not just illicit drugs, it's painkillers, it's prescribed
Could be prescription drugs
as well,
yes, sir.
And Jaimie, tell us about that. I mean, is there a real problem?
There's a real problem with legalise at the moment, and that's for the younger generation. But at the moment, it's more alcohol awareness, what we need to put out, really, because we do have a lot of people coming through the doors with alcohol issues.
Is that because, you know, the binge drinking culture that we seem to have created?
Yeah, it is a binge drinking culture, plus with the binge drinking goes the cocaine as well, so you get a bit of both, so we have to deal with both ends of the spectrum.
And Dan, are these drugs more available now, would you say,
Yes.
to the young?
Most definitely, most definitely. You can pick up drugs relatively easily. You know, you only need to know one person. There's a whole ratio of people that sort of turn up and supply wherever you want. You know.
And is it particularly for the younger children? I mean, is there an age bracket where you see, you know, is it
for the legalised, there's an age bracket. It's between the 16 to 18-year-olds. With alcohol and drugs, it just varies.
It can be any age at all.
Yeah.
Any age at all. And when you're working with, you know, Recovery Near You, Jaimie, what do you find? So if someone was to come to you, what's the process? What's the step?
They come through the SPOC team first. That's a single point of contact. We then refer them on to us, so we are the enterprise team. And what we do is psychosocial interventions, also offer mutual aid. That can be group work with SMART, NA, CA, AA. We also offer them we also offer them help with DWP,
What's
housing,
DWP?
the Department of Works and Pensions benefits, housing, and anything what we can't do, we'll refer them to outside agencies whether it be a mental health agency or agencies if they're suffering bereavement, because there's also always something there behind the drink or the drugs misuse.
I was going to say
there's
that.
always something psychological behind it, what we have to work out and find the triggers and help them as we help them through recovery.
Because there is a whole process, isn't there? So you're not just looking at the reason why they've taken that drug. There's a whole process of what goes on behind that. And Dan, do you see that with the work that you do with Suit?
Yeah, there is usually underlying reasons why people are, why they are doing what they do. It's usually a form of escapism. You find that's the main reason. I know personally from personal experience, but I was drug dependent, and that was my escapism because I couldn't face things that were going on around me. And you find that is quite a common thing with a lot of drug and alcohol users, unfortunately.
And because you've had that experience, you can empathise with them, as well as obviously
we find that because Suit is run by people, everybody who actually works for Suit is an ex-service user. So no matter what somebody comes through the door with, whatever their addiction or whatever they were addicted to, or whatever the reason, there's always somebody there that's been there, done it, and we can say to them, you know what, I was like that once. There is light.
So again, there's light at the end of that tunnel. And as a general practitioner, is this a UK nationwide problem we have, not just here in the West Midlands?
I think what we don't, because with alcohol, it's difficult to understand units and the measurement.
Yes.
And how much is too much? And I think as a nation, we are drinking too much. Like some people would say, well, I can drink 4 pints. But that's classed as a binge because normal strength lager, that could be 8 units. So we are causing damage to our livers, and we've seen a lot of issues with the older adults as well. So post 55, there's a lot of people then being hospitalised or accessing GPs, but we don't talk about these issues.
Yeah, I read there was a recent study there where it was 45 plus ones that can binge drink as much as the younger. Is that true? Would you say that's true?
If people are drinking a bottle of wine a night, it's about 9 to 10 units, so that's almost like 3 super cans or 2.5. So when you convert that, people would be horrified to say, well, I wouldn't drink 2 super cans because that's like a typical drinker on a park bench. To have images of what
stereotypical.
Is it? Yeah, I was going to say, is that you go forward on that a bit, Dan. It is a stereotypical image, isn't there, of somebody who's an alcoholic.
But alcoholics can be anybody. That can be from people who are on the lowest wage or not working to homeless, or that could be people earning mega money. Alcoholics can be anywhere. Just because you don't see somebody drinking doesn't mean to say they're not drink dependent. A lot of people did it behind doors, and people don't always realise that,
Would you say the same, Jaimie?
I'd say the same because the average intake for a woman is 1.2 units daily.
So 1.2 units. So what does that equate to? A glass of wine or 2 glasses of wine?
Glasses
it's 1 to 2 units a day for a female.
2.2.
3 to 4.
Is it 3 to 4 for the male? 3 to 4 for the male.
And that's basically would equate to a small glass of wine, which is 25 mils, or it could be, which is a unit, or it could be a can of, or half a pint is 1 unit. So if you're looking at daily limits, it should be 1 or 2 drinks, small drinks, but having 1 or 2 days off. Whereas sometimes we're getting into a habit where we're either binge drinking 3-4 times a week, especially on a Friday, Saturday night, or we're steadily drinking every day, and then our tolerance rises. So.
Yeah, and I mean, we're a stressful environment, we hear about that on the news now, that everyone's so stressed. Stress is a work-related illness. Do you think that contributes to it, Jaimie, would you say?
I'd say depression is a key factor in why people
Depression.
go to drinking or taking drugs.
But then even advertising, because it's bombarded, especially around Christmas and summer. You want to have a good time, have a drink. So there's a lot of advertising from the drinks industry.
Supermarket sales.
Yeah, so again, there's a lot more to be done then, Dan, would you say?
Oh, definitely. Especially like say around the Christmas time, buy one get one free, or you buy 4 bottles for a tenner, or and then you get the advertising on TV where if you drink this drink, you're going to get the gorgeous girl, and obviously the other way around, and it's just all wrong. It's just geared wrong. They're not obviously they're promoting the product that they want to sell, but they're not thinking of the actual person. All they're thinking of is pound signs.
So what can we do? What can we do?
I think labelling and awareness is one thing, but I suppose for us and each service in each town and city, we are out there trying to raise awareness about what is a unit, and if you have drug or alcohol issues, there are services there. Some people have that myth that if I have a drug or alcohol issue, it's going to cost me money because they hear of celebrities checking in to institutions which cost thousands of pounds. But these services are paid for by local authorities, so it could be quick internet search. If in doubt, we'll give our contact details at the end of the programme. And it's just getting in touch, and if you are a Wolverhampton resident, you can get in touch with us, but there's services in Walsall, Coventry, Birmingham. So
all across, and I imagine they'd be all across the West Midlands as well.
definitely.
And it's a very important service, you know, that you provide. There's no doubt about that. But guys, we're going to have to take a quick break there. So, but thank you so much for joining me, and please do come back on the show again. We'd love to see you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. So we're going to take a quick break now. So come back again and join us again in just a minute. Welcome back to Cuppa TV. My next guest is Gilly Page, a bespoke jeweller who has her own artisan jewellery business. We welcome Gilly. Gilly, thank you so much for coming on Cuppa TV.
My pleasure.
Wonderful to see you, and you're wearing a beautiful headdress, but we'll look at that in a moment.
Thank you.
So Gilly, first of all, we've had a lovely guest on the show, Dave, Blind Dave, and tell us about your story with Blind Dave.
I actually saw him at a networking event at Walsall Football Club, and Dave was one of the guest speakers. And I was so moved by what he said and his whole story, and particularly something he said at the end of his talk, saying that before the big man called him upstairs, he would see his daughter's faces. And after I left the event, I couldn't get that out of my head. So to cut a very long story short, I contacted him and said that I would love to make a bespoke fingerprint dog tag for him to take with him on his Marathon des Sables adventure, which he's just finished.
He
has,
right,
yes. So I met Dave that way, and I made the piece for him, and he took it with him
And
to
did
the
he
desert.
take it with him?
He took him
Fantastic.
took it with him to the desert. He did, and he crossed the line holding it, which was lovely. So that was exactly what
you
I
wanted to do.
That when he was really down, and he said that in one of his TV interviews, that when he thought that he couldn't go on because it was the toughest thing he'd ever done, that's what kept him going. He just held the tag and knew that his daughters and his wife were with him.
Oh, what a wonderful story for you, Gilly. You must have been so proud.
I was proud, but it was just, I was so moved by him and what he said that I just wanted to do that, and I do feel very privileged to have met him and his lovely family.
And Gilly, I mean, you are a trained silversmith.
I am,
right?
yes.
So
yes.
tell us about, how did you get into that?
Oh, many moons ago, I went to Epsom School of Art and trained as a silversmith, and did hand-carved and dyed perspex, which was very niche market, quite big for the time, very colourful. You either loved it or you hated it. I had pieces in galleries in London, and I did Top Drawer trade fair, and I was at the Country Living Fair and appeared in Country Living magazine many moons ago. Decided I wanted to open my own gallery, but at the 11th hour decided I didn't want to borrow money from the bank, so I got myself a job, and my life went off in a different direction. I had a salary and a company car, then I met my husband, had my boys, but it was always a burning, unfinished business, really, shall we say. So I left my sales job after I'd had my first little boy and retrained as a teaching assistant, and as much as I loved doing that, there was still something burning inside me. Yes, and I got made redundant just over 12 months ago now. And I thought, this is my now or never moment. If I don't do it now, I never will. So I officially set up my business, Gilly Page Jewellery. But prior to that, I was making fingerprint dog tags, and I made this first piece, which
is this the one that's round your neck at the moment?
Yes.
So tell us about that.
This was the first piece I ever made, and the small piece is my youngest son. The medium heart is my eldest son, and the large heart is my husband and I, and I've worn it every day, and I've never taken it off. And by word of mouth, lots of other sort of parents sort of said, would you
Mums
make one for me? Mums at school
Yes.
gate. So it's become known affectionately as the Kimber tag in Kimber.
And again, but that's how you really generated your business,
It is, yes.
And were you
yes.
surprised, Gilly, at how quickly it grew?
Yes, and particularly after I officially launched my business.
Yes,
I've
because
had
that was when? When did you officially
It was
launch?
March last year, the end of March last year.
yes, not long.
And I've had pieces in Edge magazine. They launched a piece on me, Escape the Chains, in October of last year, and I couldn't have asked for a better article. It was great, and I had lots of things come from that. And I've got an online shop on the Etsy website, which has been great. And I've sent pieces to New York and Australia, so it's been great. And then having sort of people coming to me now, which is lovely.
That's always good, isn't it?
It
when
is,
people start
yes.
coming to you. And what inspires you, Gilly? What makes you think about what you're going to create?
I just love creating things, and I don't necessarily tend to design anything prior to my making it, but because all of it is bespoke and it's all personalised with either a fingerprint, a message, an initial, I tend to work with the client, and we will sit down and I will have a chat with them, or if it's over the internet we will have a conversation, and I sit and draw with them, and then I create the piece in front of them, because the charms themselves are made from silver clay. So we can sit and do a print, I can hand etch the message or the initial, and they can see it being created. I've even had somebody tape it and send a photo to her husband in Afghanistan, and it was their daughter's fingerprint.
So with the silver clay, that people you go through the whole process.
The whole process, yes, it is, yes. And when it's dried, or the people can see it, still alterations can be made. So if they look at it, and I'll send images to my customers via my Etsy shops, so that they can look and say, well, actually, I'd rather put that there, or can we change this, or can we change the wording? So we'll do that so that they're totally happy. And we can incorporate pieces as well. I made a piece for a lady that had found some old buttons her grandma had left her, and we put a button from her grandma's favourite coat on a necklace, an old earring her husband had bought her and she'd lost the other one, so we popped that one on there, and a necklace her daughter had bought her from the school fair, and we just put some little beads on. So they're keepsakes rather than pieces of jewellery, and sort of each piece tells a story of that individual person, and I love that.
And I was going to say, there's obviously a passion there, which
Yeah,
is
I love
fantastic.
that.
And you've got this. Tell us about this amazing flower head. What do you call it? It's a bridal piece.
It
really.
is a bridal piece,
Yes.
actually. I launched my first bridal collection in March of this year.
So just.
Yes, just, and that was showcased in Edge again, and it's head pieces and little bracelets, and again they're keepsakes. So on some of the crowns, for example, there are charms which have the bride and groom's name on and the date of the wedding and the year, and then afterwards it can be made into a piece of jewellery for the bride to keep, so it isn't just boxed away and forgotten about. But yes, this is one of the bridal crowns.
It looks lovely. And
Thank
again,
you.
when you're creating, do you just sit down with the
Yes.
bride-to-be and just say, look,
Yes.
what is it you want? Give me some ideas, and then you go off and create?
Yes, I do.
And are they all handmade?
All
Gilly?
of them, yes.
And
they're
you
all made by
all
me,
made by
yes.
you. And
Yeah.
how long does it take you? Like, how long would it take you to make something
It
like that?
depends on what it is and how intricate it is and how many charms are on there. It can take anything from an hour and a half to like a whole day, days.
Yes.
It's just depending on what
Yes.
it is.
Oh, fantastic. And with that, I mean, obviously that's very successful. You've launched that now. So do you see your business just growing and growing?
Yes, hopefully, but I would also like to keep that personal touch as well, because for me, I haven't reinvented the wheel. There are thousands of people making silver jewellery worldwide, but what is important for me is that personal touch, and that it can be created with that person and it tells that person's story. So I'd like to be, I never realised I was a control freak until I set up my business, but clearly I am, because I'm not very good at delegating things. And to me, I think if something is handmade, then it's handmade by that person, not just an element of it. I want to be able to make every little piece from beginning to end.
And what's the most unusual piece you've made, Gilly?
I've made a silver plectrum for somebody's 60th birthday, and recently I've made a keepsake of a pair of earrings and a necklace that a friend of mine, actually, her mother had made, and she'd passed away, and she wanted me to incorporate some of those elements of her mother's necklace and also make a keepsake with some of her mother's ashes in there. And it does sound a rather weird thing, a weird request, but for me, having lost my own parents, I can understand why she wanted that. And I felt really touched that she'd asked me to use something
Quite
so
personal
special,
stories.
incredibly personal, yes.
And you obviously get involved with the client and, you know, and go on that journey, because
Yes.
weddings and
Yes.
funerals and things like that, which
Yes.
is, it's a very sensitive and a very,
Very.
personal thing to
Yes.
be asked.
Yeah.
And where is, you said your lovely jewellery is all over the world. Where's the farthest you sent it to?
Australia.
Oh, fantastic.
I
We
sent
can't go any
it to
farther than that.
Australia. Yes,
Yeah.
so it's lovely. I've been thrilled.
Oh, fantastic. So what's the future going to be for you, do you think?
I'd like to develop my bridal range. I think that that's something that I would very much love to do that, and I'm going to be working with photographers and stylists, hopefully, to sort of develop that range, and also just to keep making my personal things. I haven't really got, well, I'm going to be earning X amount in so many years, and I'm going to be appearing in XYZ shops. I think that because it's not mass produced, it would be very difficult for me to have ranges that would be sold en masse in retail establishments.
Oh, Gilly, it's been so lovely to meet you. Thank you so much for coming in.
That's a pleasure. Thank you
It's been a pleasure.
for asking
Thank
me.
you. That's it today. I'd like to thank all of my guests for joining me today, and thank you for watching. Please do get in touch with us. You can either email the show or join us on Facebook or Twitter at Big Centre TV. Please do come back and join us again soon. Until then, bye-bye.